Oh, sorry for sabotaging your group text there. Also,
Yeah, you really confused him because there's another guy named Ian that's not in the group chat.
I'm so confused. All right, we're actually going here. So,
All right, cool.
all right.
All
You
right.
were making noise. Sorry, I was waiting for it to quiet down.
Okay.
All right.
Is that better?
Yeah, you're good. What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Fantasy Football Fix podcast. My name is Ian, and I'm joined again by Cody tonight. Cody, what's going on?
Hey, Ian. How's it going today?
Hey, can't complain. It's an exciting week in the world of football. It's preseason. It's not just the Hall of Fame game. We have kind of real live football on Thursday.
Yeah, we do. I'm super excited. What are you guys? The Bills are playing the Jaguars, right? I think it is.
Carolina Panthers.
Is it the Panthers?
I think so. I should know, but you know what? It's preseason, so I don't really pay too much attention to that. I mean, I do pay attention to the football, but about who we're actually playing. It should be interesting, though. On the Bills front, I mean, I don't know what we're going to see out of their quarterbacks. It's really kind of the big question mark still, and to see what their new offense is going to look like. But it's preseason, and there's a lot of good things to take from preseason.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, I was looking at some things on my phone here to see who you guys were playing. Now I'm curious, and it's not showing me. Oh, you were right. Yep, you guys are playing the Panthers.
All right. It's like we got somebody who wants to join us tonight.
Oh yes, the lucky dog that we have here.
All right. So let's go with sorry about that. Jump into a little bit of the news. You want to run through a couple things you got for us there?
Yeah, definitely. The first thing I have written down here, actually, Ian, is Nick Foles, quarterback for the Eagles, was actually held out of practice due to some muscle spasms in his neck, and that comes as kind of a little red flag there since we have Carson Wentz. He's still out for the preseason, so I'm sure Nick Foles will be just fine. But it's something to note looking at the Wentz in the future.
Yeah, I think on that one, that kind of puts the Eagles and it puts fantasy owners in an interesting spot when it comes to the draft. And I forgot to mention off the top, we are going to be ranking tight ends and quarterbacks for you tonight. So just something to keep in mind when you're looking at quarterbacks is, we may not see Carson Wentz in the preseason. That's what's coming out of Philadelphia, NBC Sports. Philadelphia, I believe it was reported that they're expecting Wentz to miss the entire preseason. That's going to put people in a really tough spot. One of those things where if you do draft Wentz, you can still, pick up Nick Foles. You could be planning on picking up Nick Foles to kind of fill that spot for maybe a week or however long it takes. Now with these neck spasms, I believe it's just something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even looking at quarterbacks drafting, if I take Carson Wentz, I might not even take Nick Foles as my handcuff just to start in a couple weeks. I might wait later into the draft to pick up someone that I have ranked even lower, just to have as a backup when Carson Wentz comes back. But that's my personal opinion looking at that.
Yeah, and it's I think something we'll get into as well when we do talk about quarterbacks is, and tight ends too for that matter, is what really your strategy is for drafting them. And that's something that you see a lot of talk about with fantasy football is, do you take a quarterback early? Do you wait? So that's something that we'll get into a little bit later. What else you got for news?
Next thing I have news, sticking with actually not sticking with that. Going to some power rankings I saw talking about earlier today. The Jags are ranked second above the Patriots. So it goes Eagles 1, Jaguars 2 in some power rankings I've seen recently. I don't know what your thoughts on that, but I'm a little surprised they're that high, but I'm not surprised the Jaguars are getting up there higher in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys listen to the previous episode, or I think it was maybe even the first one, my feelings on the Jaguars. I think they're not going to come anywhere close to what they were last year. So, I completely disagree with all these experts putting them number 2 in the league. So.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Let's see. I've got Devontae Booker listed as a starting running back in Denver. Do you think that's something that's just for the preseason, or do you see Royce Freeman taking that spot from him by the beginning of the year?
I really couldn't tell you if that team is definitely up in the air. Without having CJ Anderson anymore, you don't know who's going to be the pure every down running back. I can see Devontae Booker going through the preseason as a starting running back, maybe the first couple of games until someone shows that they're better than him. Booker isn't the greatest running back, but I think they're going to stick with him throughout because he probably has the most experience behind him.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's another one of those things to watch as we get further through this preseason. I would expect Freeman to kind of take the job I really expect it to happen by week 1, but if it's not week 1, it'll be shortly after the season started. We've seen Devontae Booker in the position to take over the lead running back role, and he's just not that good of a running back. So once Freeman kind of has, and I'm sure it's probably a pass protection thing, it's making your rookie earn his spot. So once he gets that stuff down, I think he's going to be in good shape. But again, another interesting thing to watch, and throughout the preseason, really. And if the last thing that I have as far as news, Sony Michel, injury to his knee. Going back to the pre-draft, the time leading up to the NFL draft, there was talk about Sony Michel having a slight knee issue, and this could be that knee thing popping up again, but there's multiple reports out there as far as how long he's going to be out. On the short end of the reports I've seen, I think it was from Adam Schefter that said maybe 10 days, but I also saw it from other pretty respectable sources that he could miss the entire preseason. How do you see this affecting not only his draft stock, but his expectations for this season?
Well, his draft stock's going to go down definitely. His ADP is going to drop a little bit there, and he's going to move also in dynasty leagues. I'm not sure, if any of listeners are in dynasty leagues, but it's definitely going to move down. It's going to be a lot harder to kind of pick where you should draft him, and since they didn't give us a pure view on how long he's going to be out for, I think this brings James White more into the picture because obviously he's going to be the starter now coming into the preseason. And his ADP, I don't have it actually in front of me, but it wasn't high to begin with. And so a lot of people could still be trying to sneak in James White here as kind of a little bit of a sleeper in the beginning of the season. Because we know how the Patriots like to use their running backs in every scheme.
Right. That's kind of the thing for me. What you said there is how the Patriots use their running backs. It's one of those things that for me kept Sony Michel down in my rankings and where I would draft him. It's the reason why I will never have a Patriots running back on my fantasy team. I'll never draft them because they always get picked higher than I would feel comfortable drafting them myself. You could see from this, if it lingers into the regular season, a bump in Rex Burkhead's usage. But like you said, it could be James White. We don't really know what role the Patriots had pegged for Sony Michel. What I do think this is going to do, it's even if he is back for the regular season, even if he misses 2 weeks here in the preseason, I don't think he's going to be the starting running back at the beginning of the year. It's going to be week 4, week 5, week 6, maybe before he is really given the opportunity to break in as their main back, in my opinion. But again, it's always so difficult to tell the Patriots because they have, what's happening with Jeremy Hill, what's happening with Mike Gillislee. Both of them, I don't think either of them have really practiced too much this preseason. They've kind of been out with injuries and that, but those are two guys that are fighting for spots. You mentioned James White, Rex Burkhead. It's really a crowded backfield in New England, and you don't. It's hard to tell from week to week what they're actually going to do. I mean, look at Mike Gillislee last year. Came out, scored, I believe, 3 touchdowns in the first week of the season, and then you pretty much didn't hear from him the rest of the year. So it's always risky with the Patriots running backs, like we said. Again, it's another one of these injuries to watch, but I think this could definitely, quite frankly, it drops him in my rankings quite a bit. And, for a redraft, for Dynasty, I was already taking a guy like Darius Geis ahead of him. So that doesn't really affect it too much there as far as Geis in relation to Darius Geis. But, Rashad Penny, I don't think he's, there's still questions about whether he's going to be the starter right off the bat. And so he's kind of in that. Sony Michel, for me, even in redraft, he kind of falls in that same spot as Rashad Penny now. Somebody that I might look at in the 6th, 7th round, maybe 8th round. But again, that depends on really how comfortable you are with Patriots running backs.
Yeah, I mean, the way Sony Michel, he's going right now. I pulled up his ADP while you're talking there. He's going right in the beginning of the 6th round. I have him. And to me, even now he might move back to maybe beginning of the 7th round. I would still look to take him there. Yeah, backs there. Who knows what they're actually going to do? Because they like to keep a lot of people on the heels and let them know that they can't just pick one guy. They're going to spread the ball around. I think, Sony Michel, when he was drafted, a lot of people were surprised by that. I think the Patriots, yes, they still have Tom Brady, and we know he's still going to be Tom Brady, but he is getting older. He is another year older. I think they're going to still try to use the running backs even more. So even with them having so many different running backs in a big backfield, I think it's still the value is there earlier in the 7th round where I have Sony Michel going now. And Rex Burkhead, I have him still going. I have him ranked as a 30th running back for me, more towards, end of the 7th round. I still think it's a good value there.
All right. Yeah, I think so too. So we'll have to see what happens because by the time people are drafting, I mean, people who are drafting now, it's kind of a tough gamble it's a tough gamble not knowing where, when he's really going to play. So you have to factor that in really.
Yeah. You also have to factor in the people who you're drafting against because, most of my leagues are full of Bills players and they stay far away from Patriots players. So, I mean, I could even wait a little bit longer to get any of those players. Same can be said about me being a Steelers fan and looking at the Bengals or Ravens. I might wait a little bit longer to get one of those because I'm not a huge fan of those teams, but it's also about the people you're drafting with too.
Right. And I think that's such an important point when it comes to draft strategy. We can kind of take this into our discussion on tight ends here, but one of the important things about drafting is knowing who you're drafting against. Like you said, you got to know if I'm playing against if I'm drafting in a league with a bunch of Bills fans, I might look and say, okay, Shady might get picked a couple picks sooner. Kelvin Benjamin might go in the 8th round instead of the 10th round. Charles Clay might actually get drafted. I might not be able to pick him up on the waiver wire. So it's kind of, those are just some examples, some limited examples with the Bills. With the Steelers fan, you may see Juju Smith-Schuster get picked even higher than he's going. So it's just important to know what your draft room is like. So bringing this into tight ends are one of those positions where I have as far as a draft strategy, it's kind of a 2-tiered approach. For tight ends, there's 3 guys that I consider head and shoulders above everybody else. And I'm pretty sure that, those 3 guys are the same 3 guys that everybody else is going to say. For me, my number 1 guy is a little bit different than most. I like Travis Kelce as my number 1 tight end, then Rob Gronkowski, and then Zach Ertz. I know it's a little bit, usually you see it Kelce, Ertz. I just don't like Gronk's injury history. If I'm going to pick a tight end that high up, 2nd, 3rd round, I want to make sure that they're going to be on the field. And if somebody like Gronk, he gets injured a little bit too often for me to pick him that early. So that's why I bump him down one spot. But I'm assuming your top three are probably the same.
Yeah. Well, actually, I have Gronkowski first, Ertz, and then Kelsey. I do like Kelsey. I had Kelsey first last year. I almost want to put him first as well too, but I mean Gronkowski, he's a beast. When he's healthy, and like you said there, he is very injury prone. But when he's healthy, he's unstoppable. He's going to get the touchdowns. He's gonna beat anybody that covers him basically. And that's the only reason why I have him first. Those top three tight ends. Gronkowski for me, he's in his own tier, and then I have Ertz and Kelsey, and they're a tier right below him. Personally, I won't take a tight end that early, even if it's Gronkowski. I'm going to look value somewhere else because I think waiting a little bit longer is a little bit better for a tight end. You might not get as much production as you would from Gronkowski, but I think there's value elsewhere to be seen than in the tight end position.
Right, and that's one of the ways that I look at it. It's the same way I look at it with quarterbacks is when I'm looking at a draft board, is my, when I'm trying to pick which position, which player I want to go with, if I'm going to pick a tight end early or a quarterback early, I have to feel like I'm getting a steal there. I have to feel like after I make that pick, after the draft is over, I can say, oh, I got Gronk in the third round. Like that's a great value. So if I look at it and it's, and I don't think I'm getting that kind of I don't feel like I'm getting that good of a value there. Like I don't feel like I'm getting a steal. I'm not going to take the pick. And like you said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say if right now his ADP is the end of the second round, say second round 11th pick. If I'm the 11th pick, I'm not taking Gronkowski there because chances are probably the end of the first round, I got a lower end running back or hopefully, I doubt he'd fall that low, but Antonio Brown or OBJ towards the end there. I think I'm still going to pass on Gronkowski there. I don't think his value is the best there either.
Right. I mean, when you're looking at ADP and you're looking kind of at the end of that, like you said, he's coming in. Just trying to get this switched over here. When you're looking at ADP for what I have up is for standard. Sorry, slow computer here. Half point PPR.
Yeah, half point PPR.
Looking. Oh my God, sorry about that. Rob Gronkowski, right? So Fantasy Pros has him as the 21st player off the board. Fantasy Pros kind of takes a look across Yahoo, Fantrax, couple other sites, and puts it all together. So they have right now Gronkowski's ADP at 21 overall. Right around him at 20 overall is Christian McCaffrey. 22 is Mike Evans. 23 is Jordan Howard. 24 LaShawn McCoy, Jerick McKinnon, Doug Baldwin, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Mixon, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Adam Thielen. That takes me all the way down to 31. I would rather have every one of those players over Rob Gronkowski.
100%, yeah.
Right, because there's just there's value
so much injury concern.
There is, but even if there wasn't, I mean, the value of those players at that position.
Well, I mean, if there was an injury concern, Gronkowski is gonna be taken higher than in the second round. If he's not injured every single year, he's easily the best tight end ever. I mean, he already is probably going to be going on as one of the best tight ends ever. But I mean, if has not had these injuries, he's easy going in first round. But production and his size and no one able to cover him, and being on the Patriots, the injury definitely brings him down to this lower level. But I mean, I'll agree with you there. All those players, I'll definitely take way before Gronkowski. I don't believe he's worth this high. But again, people will take him that high because it's who's best available. They'll see on their board, and sometimes that's how ADP goes.
Okay, so for you, whereabouts would you feel comfortable picking Gronk? I know you said if at his ADP you're not going to take him there, which is the 10th pick of the second round, or in that right at the end of the second round. Where would you feel comfortable getting him?
I say, well, if I was in the draft there, I was coming back around there, and my pick was the second pick in the third round now, or second or third based on, where his ADP is. I'd take him there because by now I probably have a running back or two running backs or two wide receivers or one of each. Then I could see him, having value there. But then again, I could see myself waiting as well too. I don't think a lot of tight ends are going to go that early. I think I still have another chance to get another good tight end. Looking farther down here, I could get a chance to get like a Kyle Rudolph, later on in the draft, further down if I wanted to. And I still think that's good value there because they have a lot of weapons on their offense, but we'll get into them later on. But that's I would probably still pass on Gronkowski. It just really depends who's there and what's going on in the draft.
Right, and again, I think I'm kind of with you there too. For me, if I get Gronk somewhere, I know I listed off all those, a bunch of guys there. Where if he's still on the board and I'm looking at, Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake, Amari Cooper. So if I'm looking kind of at the end of the third round, for me, I'm going to take Travis Kelce, which I think I have a much better chance of having him on my team because his ADP right now is 29th overall. So there's a much better chance that he's there at the end of the third round. I may look at him end of the third round, early fourth round. But again, that's just I would rather have guys like Joe Mixon and Thielen, Diggs, Hilton, like those kind of players I would rather have before I have a tight end. So for me, Gronk's always going to be gone before I pick him. And Kelce, maybe Ertz. If Ertz falls into the fourth round for me, I might look at him there. But ultimately, it comes down to when you look at the players on the board. And for me, do I feel like I'm getting a steal? Like I'm stealing this player. So that's how I look at it with tight ends and quarterbacks. And it's not the most scientific approach, but it's just about value at that draft pick for me.
Yeah, definitely with QBs and quarterbacks and tight ends. I'll agree with you there. Speaking of Kelce and Ertz as well, brings us to the next two tight ends that we have listed there. I think you just said Kelce is first and then Gronkowski as third, right? Mm-hmm. Was it?
Kelce, Gronk, Ertz.
Kelce, Gronk, yep. So, basically any of those tight ends you're going to have a good season with, so you can't go wrong there. I have Ertz as 2, Kelce at 3. Pretty much easily can be interchangeable. Ertz, I think, just had a better season last year. He had more catches and everything. No, I'm looking at this. Didn't have more catches and receiving yards, but just on a better offense, we'll say. I like Ertz a little bit better than Kelce, but again, interchangeable, almost the same type of player.
Well, the thing that I'll say to you there about liking Kelce more than Ertz, last year Kelce had 123 targets. I think that comes down this year. I think he's going to be in a similar target range. Ertz had 110 last year. I would imagine Kelce's probably in about that same ballpark, especially with the addition of Sammy Watkins. It's going to change their offense. He's going to take some targets away. So I do see Kelce coming back a little bit as far as targets are concerned. So, tight end position is one of those that really comes down to touchdowns. Quite frankly, I think I can see Ertz's touchdown potential being slightly higher than Travis Kelce's as well. Because again, for Kelce, he's got Sammy Watkins, who has been a monster in the red zone. So it's going to be interesting to see where that offense goes when they get to the red zone. And that's really going to make a difference where these tight ends are going to end out, because that's ultimately what's going to make the difference between the three of them. It's Gronk's health and it's the number of touchdowns for the other two.
Yeah, touchdowns is definitely a big factor with tight ends. It looks like that Kelce and Ertz both had 8 touchdowns last season, tied there. But I agree with you. Ertz does have more of a chance to get more touchdowns, I think, as well.
All right. Who do you have? Let's go with the next 3 on your list there. Who do you have as your next 3?
Sorry about that. My next 3 are I'll just go with my next 2 because it kind of brings down to the next tier for me in tight ends. I have Greg Olsen and Evan Ingram as my next 2. I Greg Olsen, I'm really excited that he's going to be back this season. And when he went out last season, it was a big blow to the Panthers. You know, Cam didn't have as many options to throw to. He didn't have that security blanket, which we all know tight ends are, always great for. I think, Greg Olsen is going to have a good season again this year. He's just all around a solid tight end. I think Cam is usually his first option and the coach in the passing game. Saying that being said, when we talk about quarterbacks, I think that would bring down Cam's rushing yards. He won't be as running as much because he'll tie in the check down too a little bit more. But I have Greg Olsen and then Evan Ingram.
It's once you get out of the top 3 tight ends, it really just I have such a hard time with this position because to me it's just so boring. There's really sure, Greg Olsen, I do like him up there, assuming he's good to go health-wise and everything's good. He's Cam's favorite target. But with all the reports coming out of Carolina about Christian McCaffrey and the number of touches I think he's, that they're saying he's going to get, McCaffrey's going to eat into what Olsen's workload has been. In my opinion, I really like McCaffrey this year. I think I kind of differ from a lot of people on that. I love the opportunity. I love the work he's going to get, especially in PPR. I think he's going to be an absolute monster. So I think that cuts into Olsen's catches, but in his targets. But I still have him as the 4th best tight end. And then I would probably go, and my next guy would be Delanie Walker. Again, nothing exciting, just especially if you're talking half-point PPR or full-point PPR. Delanie Walker just makes catches. He doesn't do anything spectacular. He doesn't do anything crazy, but he was targeted 111 times last year. It's 74 catches. He's
only
not going to
put 3 touchdowns.
Right, and that's the concern with him. That's the concern with him is he doesn't score a ton of touchdowns. They have a new offensive coordinator in this year, so there is going to be changes made to that offense. I think the interesting thing to look out, and I think you had, the one guy that you had in there that I didn't was Evan Ingram. I have concerns for him about his targets. He was not overly efficient last year on his targets, 115 targets. He only made 64 receptions. So that's a number that you'd like to see kind of up a little bit, see him be more efficient because he's not going to get the same number of targets in New York this year. Now with Odell Beckham being healthy, now with Saquon Barkley over there. So my concern with Ingram is just the targets that he's going to get. Talent-wise, he's right up there, I think, with Ertz and Kelsey. I think he's that good, but I don't know if he's going to get the usage really that we need from him.
I totally disagree with you. I think Evan Ingram, yes, we have OBJ back and the addition of Barkley on that team. They, added some pieces to the offensive line to help Eli Manning out. I think that's going to give him more of an openness because now they have to watch out for OBJ, easily the second best wide receiver in the league. And I almost overstepped my boundaries there by saying that he was better than Antonio Brown because he's not. But
you almost forget about AB, right? Like,
he's just on another level.
He's in his own class.
But I just think he's going to have that more openness. They have a lot more players to cover. If they can protect Eli Manning, he's going to have that time to sit in the pocket. Yes, Eli isn't the greatest quarterback, but he has 2 Super Bowl rings, and he's still a Manning that can sit in the pocket and throw a good ball to people. Wow. And I think Evan Ingram, it can profit from that.
I think you might have a point there. Well, I disagree that he'll still get the targets he got last year because I don't think he will. Having Barkley and Beckham to draw attention to the defense could very easily help him improve that efficiency. And if that's the case, then he absolutely, I think if that happens, he certainly is the one tight end that I have outside the top 3 that has the potential to be the number 1 tight end in fantasy football. So I think he absolutely has the ability to be that tight end. And if his efficiency does increase, I would expect him probably around 90 to 95 targets this year. And if he can do what he did last year with those targets, with 20 less targets, absolutely. He's going to be in there where you rank him. I'm just not quite convinced yet that he will do more he'll increase his efficiency on his targets. That's all. So,
yeah, I mean, it's one of the things you have to kind of see. I just think, I have him again, kind of for the value you get him at. For me, he's my fifth tight end, and I have him going beginning of the 6th round. So, the value is there. He could have a great season, and he could be a steal in that round, I believe. Anyways, moving forward, for my picks 6, 7, and 8, I have Jimmy Graham, Trey Burton, and Kyle Rudolph.
I am pretty much with you there. The only one that I have any concern over is Jimmy Graham. Those are the 3 that I would have in the next order. I would put probably Rudolph, Graham, Burton in that order there. The thing that concerns me about Jimmy Graham is that he just can't move. So he's 100% touchdown dependent. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's not going to give you a good week. So that's where I get into, some concern with him there. He's going to a new team. He's playing with Aaron Rodgers. It's still to be seen, who Rodgers is really going to make his red zone target. If it's Jimmy Graham, then sure, he can absolutely be up there. But if he goes somewhere else with his targets in the red zone, then you're going to see Graham's touchdowns come down. I mean, he just, as far as yardage, you're just not going to get it from him. He averaged 9.1 yards per reception last year. That's a yard. That's almost 2 yards less than Delanie Walker. It's less than Kyle Rudolph. It's less than Cameron Brate, Jared Cook, Eric Ebron. I mean, so he's not going to do it as far as yardage. It's ultimately going to come down to touchdowns with him.
Yeah, basically. I mean, we said I'm getting I'll talk about tight ends there, that they are a big factor about tight ends. You always look towards touchdowns, especially the top 3, Gronkowski, Ertz, Kelsey. They're going to be the touchdown magnets. They're going to get all the touchdowns. Going below from that, you're kind of looking for the player that's going to get, maybe one a game, hopefully. I mean, one a game actually is a lot, but, one every other couple weeks with some weeks with a bunch of receptions and yards, especially playing in our PPR league. And Jimmy Graham, the reason why I have him at 6 is because he has Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers loves to spread the ball around. Yes, he does have some great wide receivers as well to throw to, and some good running backs. But he'll spread the ball around. Jimmy Graham gets receptions. Again, this is the another tier for me. Jimmy Graham, Trey Burton, and Kyle Rudolph. They're all one tier. They all can be kind of like fluctuated depending on the draft pick and the value and who you're drafting with. It depends, on all those factors. But I think Jimmy Graham, his addition to the Packers is going to be great for the Packers overall and for Jimmy Graham. But I agree with his receptions aren't going to be as high because he can't move as much. And, he's on a team that has a lot of weapons.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Who would, I think once you get to this point in time, honestly, with tight ends, it just becomes so difficult, right? So of the next guys really that you're looking at, for me, after that would be guys like, honestly, I like Charles Clay, Jordan Reed, because he's just super talented. It's just a matter of him staying healthy. And then George Kittle are my next 3. I think the Bills are going to actually use the middle of the field this year. So Charles Clay really is one of their top receiving options. He hasn't gotten a lot of attention this offseason. But again, it's a new offense coming into Buffalo. We don't know who their quarterback is going to be. So he's still kind of a wild card. And like we said, at this point in time with tight ends, you really have to kind of pick your poison. I mean, do you want to go boom bust, or do you want to go with somebody who's going to get you, 40 yards and maybe a touchdown every 3 or 4 weeks? So it's just kind of what you're looking for at that position. Really comes down to your roster construction. But those are going to be my next 3 there: Charles Clay, Jordan Reed, and George Kittle.
Yeah, mine are almost the same. I have Delaney Walker actually sitting at 9 for me instead of Clay. I do like Clay a lot too. He's a little bit farther down for me. I wanted to go up higher because he had a great season last year. I thought he had, let's see, where'd he go? He had 558 yards and 49 receptions. You know, they're not the most amazing statistics, but he helped the Bills get to the playoffs last year. Congratulations again.
Yeah. Well, you know what, the thing I'll say about, not to butt in, but the thing I'll say about Charles Clay last year, Tyrod Taylor refused to throw the ball over the middle of the field.
Yes.
And where do tight ends make most of their money? Over the middle of the field.
Yes.
So
yeah, like I said, I mean, I think he's a good tight end. He's great at catching the ball. He'll get the reception. Hopefully more down in the middle of the field. I had Delaney Walker just a little bit lower than you did. I think you had him up higher than me. For me, I don't know what to think about the Titans. They're kind of just there at the moment. I don't know what they're doing. I love Marcus Mariota. I just still don't know if they're just putting the pieces correctly together. I like Derrick Henry. I don't think he's the best running back, but he's a solid running back. I just don't think they're getting the pieces to fit properly just yet. And then I have Jordan Reed and Greg Kittle. Again, Jordan Reed, like you said, injury prone, so much talent there, but he just needs to stay healthy. And I think the addition with a good running back is going to make that a big difference for them. And then I have George Kittle also sitting there at 11.
Okay. Yeah, so let's do this. At this point in time, I'm going to throw out a couple of sleeper tight ends here, guys that once you get to this point that I would suggest really to look for. First of all, don't draft a rookie tight end. We've seen time and time again, rookie tight ends come in with huge expectations, get drafted as a 6th, 7th, or 8th tight end off the board and fall flat. Don't draft a rookie tight end. So guys like Hayden Hurst, Mike Gesicki, I think the one that I would consider is Mike Gesicki out of Miami. And that's because Miami lost their target monster in Jarvis Landry. So Ryan Tannehill is going to look for somebody in that short to mid-distance passing game. So Mike Gesicki.
No, who's going to pass to him?
Oh, Tannehill.
Oh, okay. Just make sure I heard you right. That's all.
Okay, he's not going to – I didn't say he was going to pass well. All right? I didn't say he was going to pass well.
Sorry to butt in there.
But he threw lots of passes. Well, he, in his time in Miami, has thrown a lot of passes at Jarvis Landry 7 yards from the line of scrimmage because that's all Jarvis Landry does. So he's going to need another target in there. Gesicki, like I said, he's got the most upside out of those rookie tight ends for me. I would probably stay clear of him, but again, boom bust at this point in time. The guy that I think you should really look for as a sleeper, David Njoku out of Cleveland. As we talked about last time, Cleveland just traded away Corey Coleman. Did we talk about that last time?
No, we actually haven't talked about that yet. That was one of the talking points, but we didn't talk about that.
Okay,
but we can sneak that in here.
So they traded away Corey Coleman to my Buffalo Bills for a 2020 7th round pick. Also, just coming out today. Today is Tuesday the 7th for, just so everybody knows. Antonio Callaway, the rookie wide receiver, was just announced that he was charged with possession of marijuana. So you would expect a suspension or potential suspension coming down for him. Josh Gordon still isn't with the team in training camp. He's still away from the team wherever he is. Talks of him being in good spirits, but it doesn't sound like he's going to be back anytime soon, really. So that leaves Jarvis Landry and Duke Johnson and David Njoku as the only targets in Cleveland's passing game. So I think Njoku, especially early in the year, a good guy to look at. Also, somebody who's going late in drafts right now. Actually, based on ADP, he's going a little bit higher than I thought. So it's not much of a sleeper, but Tyler Eifert, if he stays healthy, is an absolute monster. So those are kind of a couple of guys to look for if they're still around there. I'm actually really shocked to see Eifert's ADP where it is.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll talk about David. Butcher his last name, David Njoku.
Njoku, close enough.
I mean, going back to the point you actually just stated about the Bills and Tyrod Taylor, he doesn't like to pass down the middle. So I mean, I have him ranked at 14 for me for my tight ends. I mean, I think he'll definitely maybe move up a spot now with the whole wide receiver problem that they have going on there in Cleveland. But that's really about it. I could move him even more down, more based on that point you just stated about Tyrod Taylor and the fact he doesn't like to pass down the middle of the field. He'd rather scramble and, get the yards first. I have actually Tyler Eifert right below David Njoku. I think he's a beast as well too. I was really high on him a couple of years. Healthy, his quarterback and can make great throws when necessary and gets a lot of touchdowns. I think the only other real weapon on there for receiving wise, besides the running backs, is AJ Green. And we know he's a pretty good wide receiver, but really that's about it. I can think about it's on the Bengals to throw to.
Actually, a name. Speaking of the Bengals, a name really to look for there this season would be John Ross, rookie wide receiver last year. Didn't really do much of anything. Is on their depth chart as their number 2 guy. They just released Brandon LaFell. So he's a guy to look for on the wide receiver front that could cut into what we expect out of Eifert. But again, I think Eifert, if he stays healthy, we've seen it before. When he's healthy, he can be as good as, Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce, up in that top tier of tight ends. But
my mistake, Ian. I guess we should talk about your probably favorite player in all-time history of Buffalo Bills is Tyler Boyd.
I don't know if I'd say he's my all-time favorite, but
he's probably up there.
Andy Dalton is probably going to lead the Bengals to a division championship this year. Just because he's amazing. Not really, but here in Buffalo, we love him now.
Right.
So I think that kind of does it for tight ends, unless you got anything else you want to throw out there for us.
The only other one that we touched briefly on was Kyle Rudolph. I think he is a good sleeper pick. His ADP, I have him going early in the end of the 6th round, starting in the beginning of the 7th round. Another high-powered weapon. He relies on a tight end position line. He's shown in the past that he does. And Kirk Cousins, if he gets time, he can definitely make some great throws. So I think Kyle Rudolph is someone to look at further into the draft. If you can't get one of those, Gronkowski's or Zach Ertz or Travis Kelce picks, I would kind of look more towards Kyle Rudolph for me.
Right. For me, 6th round is a little bit high. But if he does drop 7th, 8th round, that's somebody that I would look at getting into there. So, all right. So if you're good with tight ends, let's jump this over to quarterbacks. We're going to run through, these pretty quick for you. Top of the list, I don't think there's much discussion to be had. Number 1, kind of in a tier of his own, Aaron Rodgers. Assuming you agree with me there.
Yep, I'll agree with you. Aaron Rodgers really, like I said, he's his own tier there, even with, his issues last season with a broken collarbone. He's still the best quarterback in the league at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. There's certainly no guarantee that he finishes as the number 1 quarterback, but I think he always finishes top 2 or 3. So I think he's,
and I was just saying, based on when you're drafting him, he's going to be expensive in your draft and pretty much any draft. But he's going to be the safest quarterback you're probably going to draft all the time. So, if he's worth it to you, they get him that high. I have him going in the 3rd round as a ADP, but he's going to be a very pricey pick.
Yeah, if I'm sitting there at the if I'm sitting there at the 3-4 turn, and Rodgers is on the clock still, I'm all over that. In some of the mocks that I've done when I'm sitting there, I said last pick of the third round, and first pick of the fourth round, and Rodgers is still there. I love that pick. I'm all about that right there. And he's the one quarterback that I would consider even a little bit higher than that. Sometime in the third round is when I start looking at him. Just for me.
Yeah, in the past I've kind of skipped on quarterbacks. Even Aaron Rodgers still being as good as he is, and he's very expensive. I've always just kind of just pretty much planned out in my draft I'm not going to get him. But again, if he's fallen to me that late in the drafts, I might look at a little bit more. But my draft strategy is usually wait a little bit longer for quarterbacks. I personally don't like taking a quarterback, even though it's Aaron Rodgers that high. But I might change my draft strategy this year. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, again, it comes down to your value. And that's really the thing that we're stressing on, that I'm stressing a lot tonight, is you've got to get value for where you pick your players. So with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, like I said, if he's there in the third round and you don't like the running backs and wide receivers that are there, go for it. Jump all over him. The reason that I think, at least for me, I'm assuming it's the same for you, the reason that we say to kind of wait on a quarterback is when you look down, at Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Kirk Cousins, Phillip Rivers, guys like that, there's not a huge difference between your fifth, sixth quarterback and your 15th quarterback as far as the points they put up there. There's, let me pull up the number here. So starting with last year, I mean, Russell Wilson was the number one quarterback last year, had 50 more fantasy points than Tom Brady. But when you get down to a guy like Ben Roethlisberger, who was 9th, the difference in points between him and the 15th is 35. Between him and Case Keenum, who was the 15th ranked quarterback last year. So once you kind of get down the list a little bit, the difference in those guys really isn't that much. That's why you can wait on guys like that. I mean, when you look at your ADP, for example, right now at quarterback, let me just pull this up. Looking at your ADP of quarterbacks right now, a guy like Tom Brady and Russell Wilson are going third and fourth round. The difference in the points that you're going to get, it's not really that much to somebody like Matt Stafford, Ben Roethlisberger, who you can get in the 11th, 12th round. When you look at the position players, the running backs and wide receivers that are still on the board in those spots, it's just a lot more advantageous to go with one of those position players in that spot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you mostly there. It really does depend on, who you want to wait for and who you think to be the best value at that pick. I mean, looking further down, I guess we'll move on from Aaron Rodgers and we'll go to the next 2 and 3. I have Russell Wilson and Cam Newton at 2 and 3. Russell at 2, Cam Newton at 3. I don't think you've been too high on Cam Newton in the past, so I'm assuming you don't have him ranked that high. Russell Wilson, he is going to pretty much be the offense there. I feel like he's going to do everything for them, which makes him great for PPR. I think that's, almost can be the same for Cam Newton. He's going to have a lot of chances for goal line touchdowns, as you've seen in the past. And he's just, he's going to get those points again.
I actually am going to surprise you here because I have Cam Newton as my number 3 quarterback this year. I've got Brady at number 2 and Cam Newton number 3. I hate the fact that I'm still putting Tom Brady up this high in my rankings, but he continues to do this year in, year out. I think he's kind of a pretty clear number 2 quarterback. Cam Newton. Cam Newton has more weapons this year. Devin Funchess is back. They added a rookie wide receiver. Greg Olsen is back. Christian McCaffrey. They added CJ Anderson. He actually has some weapons this year. So I see him having a pretty massive season. Russell Wilson is a little bit lower for me. I have a lot of doubts about the Seahawks offense this year, especially with Doug Baldwin's injury. We're not really sure. Latest I saw with him is they're still expecting him to be back for the first week of the season, but that's coming from Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll sugarcoats everything he ever says to the media. So I still have my doubts there. Without Doug Baldwin, that passing offense has absolutely nothing. So I actually have Russell Wilson down at my number 7 quarterback this year, strictly because he still brings the running ability that he does have. But I think his pass attempts this year are going to be way down. They're going to go, especially with the draft pick Rashad Penny, Chris Carson healthy, they're going to pound the ball. Their offensive line is terrible. So I have a lot of concerns this year with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. He has some concerns. That whole team has some concerns for sure. But Russell Wilson has shown that in the past. They've had a lot of concerns on the offense the past couple of years, and he's been solid, I think. He's definitely proven time and time again he can carry that offense forward. Whether, that if the offensive line does break down, he can get out of the pocket and scramble for those yards, and that's what makes him, I think, more valuable in PPR leagues and everything like that. You're right. My draft picks were before Doug Baldwin got hurt, so I could bring him down to 3 and 4 possibly. With that being factored in, but I still think Russell Wilson is a solid quarterback at 2, and Cam Newton at 3.
Okay. What are your next group there?
My next tier groups, they're actually large, so I'll just go to the next 3 here. I have Matthew Stafford at 4, Drew Brees at 5, Tom Brady at 6.
For me, the one thing that sticks out to that group is Tom Brady. You dropped him down to number 6. That's going to be lower than I've seen him ranked pretty much anywhere. Defend your ranking.
I just think that he's going to start coming downfall. I just think that they're going to get more away from Tom Brady. He's getting older. I mean, again, it is Tom Brady. He could prove me wrong, which is a very good possibility. I just think that the direction the Patriots want to go with more of the run game, and Tom Brady's old age is not worth it. I think it's definitely on the decline a little bit here. I don't think he's worthy of being up there in the 2 or 3 spots. I think there's, Cam Newton and Russell Wilson are better fantasy quarterbacks.
So I just want to get this on record. You are predicting that the downfall of Tom Brady starts this year.
Yep, predicting that. Marked, checked, writing it down. Downfall of Tom Brady.
All right. If there's one thing that I hope you get right this season, that is it.
Me too.
You're a Steelers fan. You probably have as much dislike for the Patriots as a Bills fan does. Yeah, that's definitely low. That's low for me and Brady, because I'm just assuming he's going to play until he's 75 and be good in every single season until he's not. So I just worst case scenario, doomsday thinking from a Bills fan here. My next couple of guys, Andrew Luck, Drew Brees, and Deshaun Watson are my 4, 5, and 6.
That is very risky. 4, 5, and 6. That's
I don't know that I would say it's risky. I mean, I'm putting a lot of faith in Luck and Watson being healthy. I like, Andrew Luck. I mean, all reports are he's good to go. So if Andrew Luck is healthy, Andrew Luck is going to be Andrew Luck. He's shown in his past that he can be the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. His ADP is rising very, very quickly. Quite frankly, probably too quickly. But I think this is obviously assuming he's healthy and good to go, that he's going to be back to old Andrew Luck.
I mean, I hope he is, because I think Andrew Luck is definitely one of the top tier quarterbacks in the league, 100%. I just don't think he's worth the draft pick at between 4, 5, and 6. as a ranking. Deshaun Watson, maybe just because we saw a little bit more from him last season. He actually played some football in the past year, but I have them lower. Andrew Luck is at 9 for me in quarterback ranking. Deshaun Watson's at 11. I just think there's just a lot of risk there. I wouldn't draft him that high. They have to be later on into the draft for me.
You know, I certainly understand the concern with Watson. I mean, there's obviously risk because, you know, he did tear his ACL last year, you know? So the thing about that kind of, you know, his touchdown rate last year, absolutely insane. He's never going to keep that up. He's never going to keep up, you know, the pace that he was on. But the thing I like about Watson is he is going to throw touchdowns. He is going to run the ball. He's going to score touchdowns on the ground. And you know what we saw from him last season, I don't think that's entirely fluky. I mean, like I said, he's obviously not going to put up the exact pace that he was on, but I think the talent is absolutely there. And I like him in that spot. I mean, he gives you the running, he gives you touchdowns, he gives you yardage. I think their offense is built around what he does well. So I think he's going to be good. His ADP is out of control. And again, he's a guy that I will never have on my team because he's going in the 4th round. I would never draft him that high. But that's kind of where I see him slotting in this year.
I mean, yeah, if he can get back from his ACL tear, I can easily, definitely see him moving to the top of the, top 5 quarterbacks in the league for sure. And the same way Andrew Luck, if they both are healthy and they come back, strong from the injuries, I can see that happen. I just don't, overall, I don't see them going that high. I wouldn't pick them in that high, but again, based on how you see your value, where it is during the draft, and who you're drafting with. So, moving on to my next guys here, where I said we have where we left off at 4, 5, 6, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. For 7 and 8, I have Kirk Cousins and Carson Wentz. And I was going to my 9th one, which is Andrew Luck. Kirk Cousins, I think he's kind of a sleeper quarterback. His ADP is going 8. It's a little low, I think, personally. He has a lot of weapons around. He in the past, he's been up and down, but he's on a very strong defense. The offensive line isn't that greatest in Minnesota, and he's proven in the past that he has kind of stumbled when an O-line breaks down. But if that stays strong, I think he has some great wide receivers. And if Cook can stay better.
Yep. My next guy is Russell Wilson, Phillip Rivers, and Ben Roethlisberger. I think that Wilson, like pretty much all the points you laid out there, he does bring you the running. He brings you, he has carried their offense for years. I don't think his passing attempts and his passing yards will be quite where they were before. Probably not even his passing touchdowns. So I think that brings him down a little bit. Phillip Rivers, always underrated. Puts up big-time yardage every single year. Going to be hurt a little bit by the fact that Hunter Henry is out for the season, but I think you're going to see Mike Williams, their second-year wide receiver, kind of step up and fill that red zone void this year. And there, a lot of people are expecting them to be one of the best teams in the NFL. I certainly think their offense is going to be one of the best in the league. Ben Roethlisberger, what do you have to say other than weapons?
Let's just say how you have Ben Roethlisberger ranked higher than me currently in your rankings, which I was kind of surprised at because you always talk bad about Big Ben. But
I do not.
I'll take it. I'll honor this moment, and I'll remember this. I'll note it down. But yeah, I have him actually at 10 for me. Actually, I have him behind Andrew Luck, surprisingly. It's going to be a weird season for them. For sure. Obviously, they have Antonio Brown, which we know he can do. Juju Smith-Schuster was unbelievable last year for his rookie season. They lost Montavious Bryant. We know what Bell can do, which is going to be interesting to see because his contract situation. He probably won't be a Steeler after the season. It's definitely worth noting that Todd Haley is gone. So we know that his scheme was pass first, run second. So I think that's going to change some stuff up a little bit. But Big Ben, he's still going to get you the touchdowns to the points because he has the weapons around him.
Yeah, like I said, weapons is all you have to know for him. After that, next few guys I've got here, Kirk Cousins, Matt Stafford. Might be a surprise to you here, Eli Manning and Matt Ryan to kind of get me through. I think that's 10 to 13 there.
Yeah, that's actually very surprising because I feel like I was higher on Eli Manning than you were, and I have Eli down at 22 for me.
Yeah, I think that Giants offense is going to be really, really good this year. They've got, just look at their weapons. We talked about Evan Ingram today, Odell Beckham, Saquon Barkley. I mean, you've got 2 first-round picks on that offense in Barkley and Beckham. One of the highest, one of the best tight ends last year in fantasy football, Evan Ingram. The weapons are there. So if we think that all the weapons are going to be that good, then Eli has to be up around that quarterback 1. He has to be in that top 12, 13 guys. If Beckham and Ingram and Barkley are all going to perform like we think they're going to perform. So
yeah, I mean, I want him to perform that much. Evan Ingram, I'm high on for sure. I think that and Barkley, we're very curious to see what he can do. He's going very high in some drafts. I've seen some mock drafts. I just think there's a lot to be proven there in the Giants. Eli has the whole offensive stuff has a lot to prove. OBJ has to come back from his injury, not playing, and the whole team has to step up. And that's the reason why I have Eli so low. He could easily, go back up to within the top 10 for quarterbacks. I just think there's other. I said it. I'll say it again. There's other value elsewhere, like Philip Rivers. I easily would get him before Matt Ryan, Jared Goff. Even I would get him before Eli. I just think Eli needs to kind of revamp that offense.
I mean, I certainly understand the concerns with Eli. Eli has been really disappointing the last couple of years. Who are the guys that you have ranked kind of in those spots? So what, 10 through 13?
10 through 13. Well, 10, Big Ben, 11, Deshaun Watson, Philip Rivers at 12, and Matt Ryan at 13.
Okay, so I mean, it's really the same kind of guys in that group. That really kind of looks at our first grouping, our quarterback ones, if you want to call them that. There's a couple of guys that I wanted to kind of touch on. That these guys, they're guys that are being drafted too high, in my opinion, and somebody who's being drafted too low. 3 guys that I think that are being overdrafted: Patrick Mahomes, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Jared Goff. Jimmy Garoppolo, let me start with you there. There's a lot of hype around him, quite frankly, because he came from New England. That's really the only reason. Right now, he is being drafted as the 9th quarterback off the board. I think that's crazy. We saw him for 5 games. Yeah, he threw for a decent amount of yards, but he threw a lot of picks and not a lot of touchdowns. We're putting a lot of faith in that San Francisco offense centered around Jerick McKinnon, who's never proven that he can be the lead back, and a number 1 receiver in Marquise Goodwin, who, quite frankly, I think could have a really good year, but I can't see a quarterback finishing in the top 10 that doesn't have a go-to receiver, that doesn't have a number 1 stud receiver. I mean, besides maybe Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson offers that rushing ability. And Tom Brady, because Tom Brady's Tom Brady. But other than that, I mean, Jared Goff, the 13th quarterback off the board, attempts. He was really efficient in his passing attempts last year. Had a lot of long touchdown completions to Todd Gurley. I don't think he's going to have the passing attempts needed to justify being drafted as a quarterback 1. And the other guy that I think is being overdrafted, I mean, according to Fantasy Pros, he's the 16th quarterback off the board, so I don't know how overdrafted he really is. Patrick Mahomes. There's a lot of weapons on that team. He's going to throw for a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, but he's also going to throw for a ton of interceptions. So Patrick Mahomes, for me, is going to come down to your league format. Is it a 6-point per passing touchdown league? Is it a -1 for an interception, -2 for an interception? You got to know your scoring format when it comes to Patrick Mahomes, because there is going to be a lot of volatility with him. He's going to throw a lot of picks, and he's probably going to lead the league in interceptions this year because he's not getting pulled. He's going to play, but he's going to throw picks.
Yeah, I'm almost on base with you with those three that are being drafted a little too high there. I'll agree with you, Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't understand the hype behind him. I think that he definitely is going way too high. He definitely had a great end of the season. Those 5 games there were great, were awesome. And especially great for San Francisco 49er fans. They needed something to get them going there at the end. But I'm not on the Jimmy Garoppolo train at all. Jared Goff, yeah, I have him ranked at 14, just because basically the team he has around him is what brings him up. And, his running back, Todd Gurley, we know what he can do. So that just brings him up a little bit for me. And then Patrick Mahomes, I'm on the fence for him. Yeah, he might have some interception problems we come to throughout the year, but I think out of those 3, he's the one I'd probably take the chance on the most. And I think he has a higher ceiling.
Absolutely. I think his ceiling is, and he's getting drafted for his ceiling. There's no doubt about it. He's probably, out of those 3, the one guy that has the potential to finish as maybe a top 5 quarterback. The other guys, you would assume, we're going to fall between 20 and 10, somewhere in that range. But Mahomes is the one that has the potential to finish up in that group. And the guy that I think is being underrated again this year, and I know it's somebody that you really like, it's Marcus Mariota. He has this year, they've added Deion Lewis. Corey Davis hopefully will be healthy for him this year. They've got a new offensive coordinator. Tennessee, it's somebody that I don't know that I necessarily agree with a lot of the experts out there that think they're going to be really good. But I think their offense is going to be better. I think Mariota, as long as he can stay healthy, I think he's got the potential really to put up a pretty good season there. Fantasy Pros has him at 18th off the board for quarterbacks. I would probably, that's a few spots too low for me. Certainly, I would take him over Jared Goff and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd definitely take Mariota over them. Yeah, I have Mariota team, and like I said earlier in the podcast, I don't know what they're doing. They haven't found the puzzle, the fitting piece to get the offense moving. I was definitely a lot higher on Mariota last season. I took him in a couple of leags. I thought he was having a great season last year, and they kind of flopped. So I'm not really sure what happened there. Hopefully, he gets back to being some fantasy relevance, but that has to be seen this year. Yeah, I definitely think he's being taken a little too low. He can be moved up a little bit, but I have him at 15. Some people have him a little bit lower. Someone else I'm actually kind of high on. Let me bring up his stuff here. Case Keenum, I'm actually kind of high on Denver. His team last season was a lot better on the Vikings, obviously, but we'll see what he does with Denver Broncos around. But I still think he's a solid starter, and for him, his ADP right now is going in the 14th round. He's definitely worth value being that late in the draft.
For me, he's a good streamer. Somebody that if I don't get one of the top six quarterbacks out there, my strategy is going to be playing week to week, playing the waiver wire to pick up the best quarterback with the best matchup. He's a guy that, depending on the matchup, I would be more than happy to throw in there in my lineup. Probably not somebody that I'm going to draft, quite frankly, because I think around that same spot. I would rather. I mean, Eli Manning's only going 10 picks higher. I'd much rather have Eli Manning there. So, there's going to be other guys that I like more down in the same area. But again, as a streamer, absolutely, he's going to have weeks where he certainly puts up the numbers.
Well, I can tell you who my streamer is again this year. It's going to be Blake Bortles.
Oh my God, no! I will not. No.
Why?
Feel free. You can take him. I'm not going anywhere near Blake Bortles.
He was a number 2 overall fantasy quarterback last season.
No.
Why would you not want to stream that?
Where was he the number 2 overall?
In the NFL.
Well, what I'm looking at has him as 1, 2, 3, like 10th or 11th. But even that's not I mean, whatever. Your point remains the same, that he came in as a quarterback 1. So I guess I can understand that point, regardless of where he finished in that number 1 group there. I mean, the thing about Blake Bortles is, for me, it comes down to what I think about the team. I think that offense is going to be awful.
I'll strongly disagree with you there. I don't think it's going to be as bad as you think it's going to be. I don't know how you still think it'd be bad when they're ranked 2 in the AFC, or I'm sorry, 2nd right now in the power rankings.
Because I don't think their defense is going to be as good.
It's improved. I don't know how.
It's not going to be as good. They're not going to get the turnovers they had last year. And Blake Bortles, I don't think that Leonard Fournette's going to. He put up good numbers, but not on a per carry basis. Their wide receivers, I really don't think are very good. And quite frankly, I don't think Blake Bortles is very good. They decided in the playoffs that they would rather have him run the ball than throw the ball because he couldn't complete a pass. He put together one of the worst quarterbacking performances they've ever seen in that playoff game against the Bills. I know you're looking at it a little bit differently because they beat your Steelers. What was the score? 52-10 or something like that.
Okay, so I mean, Leonard Fournette ran all over us, so that's partly our fault.
And Ben threw 5 picks. So
yeah, he was unstoppable. I mean, your guys' game with the Bills, it was defense against defense. I mean, that the Bills secondary is very good. And like you said, Blake Bortles isn't the best thrower, but he isn't as bad as people are saying it. I think, like I said, I wouldn't draft him. He's a streaming option. He's someone that I would look into, picking him up sometime in the future if he's there, if I need a quarterback, and keeping him. I'm not saying I'm going to draft him, but it was, they're talking about streaming options. He definitely is my number 1 choice right now.
Okay. And you know what? I will let you stream him.
All right.
That's all you. And that's fair. I mean, their differing opinions are good. I'm sure maybe I'm a little bit biased on the Jags, but I just don't like them. That's it. So I think, that kind of puts us to that went through our quarterback 1s really. Once you get past that, that group of guys, I mean, it's the same kind of thing with tight ends. Once you get past the point of really where we rank guys to that, 12, 13 overall, you can kind of play the matchups. I mean, if you're not getting one of the top 6 or 7 guys, somebody who you feel comfortable starting week in and week out, in my opinion, you stream the quarterback. Play your matchups and just go about it that way.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you.
So, do you have anything else you want to throw in about quarterbacks tonight?
No, that's really it. Pretty much, stay far away from Joe Flacco as you can. Don't draft him. He's not worth it. Don't draft Ryan Tannehill. He's not worth it. Stay away from them. That's about it. I mean, I think the only other big name we haven't talked about, which we could talk about, is Dak Prescott, because who knows what happened last year, because he had a great beginning of the season, and then after game 8, he kind of fell off, fell out of the season there. So I'm not sure really what happened. And we can blame it on, the class of Des Bryant, so to speak. if we want to, but a lot of factors could factor in him on his decline of last season, but he's another big name we just have not touched base on. I have him at 19 personally. I think that team itself is just kind of out there. Again, kind of like the Titans, not really sure what they're doing. But Zeke and Dak Prescott, they have a lot of talent and potential. So the upside could be really, really high if he's there late in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, he's done it before. He's shown that he can be a good, a valuable fantasy quarterback. I personally don't see it happening this year. I don't think he's got the weapons offensively. Zeke's really his only weapon. They don't have the receivers to help him get it done. They don't have, they lost Jason Witten. So
yeah,
I understand I understand his draft position, and I'd be surprised if he bounced back. I think he's going to be mediocre. Again, a guy you can stream, but I wouldn't expect much more than that from him this year. So on that note, we're going to wrap this up for you guys here tonight. We appreciate you tuning in, listening in to what we had to throw out there for you. Again, we used tight ends, quarterbacks tonight. If you missed our previous episodes, we did running backs and wide receivers. And next time, probably going to come out after the first week of preseason games, which are coming up in a couple of days. We're going to do a live mock draft for you. So we're going to run through, we'll draft from a couple different positions and really walk you through our thought process on why we make the picks that we make in those situations. So I think that'll be really cool. Tune in, check it out. Again, as we said before, you can find us on Twitter at the FFF pod. That's 3 Fs, Fantasy Football Fix. So it all makes sense. You can check us out there. Get us your questions, anything like that. We're going to get rankings up for you as soon as I get my shit together and put stuff online. But hey, it's football season. So what more could you want?
That's it. That's right. Go Steelers. We'll see you next week.
It was a great podcast, and you had to come in and ruin it with that Go Steelers garbage.
Sorry.
Go Bills. Hashtag Bills Mafia. But no, seriously. You guys enjoy the first week of preseason football. The season's back. It's draft season. It's preseason. Let's go. NFL football, baby. Let's do it. We'll talk to you guys next time.